Good morning, everybody. I do hope I can give you a good 20 minutes about the global state of scams across the globe. Maybe a small disclaimer. No artificial intelligence was used to create this presentation, and maybe no intelligence was used at all. I will leave that to you to determine. About us, the Global Anti-Scam Alliance has as a mission to protect consumers worldwide from scams. And we do that by bringing together all the stakeholders. So governments, law enforcement, consumer authorities, banks, e-commerce sector, anybody who for one reason or another is being misused by scammers to scam people or wants to fight scammers and better protect consumers. And I also run ScamAdviser.com. ScamAdviser is an online algorithm which real-time checks if a website is legit or a scam. We now have more than 7 million unique visitors per month on ScamAdviser.com. But more importantly, our data is also used by nearly all the antivirus companies in the world to protect consumers, and also by social search engines and social media to check advertisers. Is this an advertiser we want to do business with? Very briefly about ScamAdviser, you can type in any website you like, and we directly give the consumer insight if the website is legit or a scam. And we also explain why we think it's a scam or legit. Maybe taking one step back, what are scams? Scams are a weird type of crime. It's the only crime you fall for. You are giving money, you're giving data instead of it being taken from you. And as a result, people often feel ashamed because they feel that they have been tricked. They forget often that they are the victim and the other one is the scammer is the criminal. So I will get back to that later because it has huge implications on how people are handling scams. It's also a vague area. Scams are in the twilight zone. Where does bad service stop and it becomes a scam? And I think many of you will say Apple and ASOS are not scams, although the reviews are terrible. So there's a weird twilight zone there. How we define scams is when there's a huge gap between the product or service being offered and what's actually being delivered. And here you see an example of a product being offered and what's actually being delivered. And we think this is a scam. For the record, there are many different types of scams. I mean, we have been scamming each other for centuries and actually thousands of years. The old Egyptians already scammed each other. Archaeologists found more than 2 million sarcophagus of cats. And the reason people wanted to have such a thing was it would bring good luck if you had one in your home. However, if there would have been 2 million cats being killed for this, we would not have had cats now. And they discovered that most of the sarcophagus actually contained only paper and rubbish. So already then we were scamming each other. Nowadays, on ScamAdviser, the most common scam is online shopping, where a product is not delivered, a fake product is sold, or something is delivered, but it has very, very little to do with what you actually bought. And the reason they do that is to prove to PayPal and MasterCard that actually a product has been shipped. The second most common type of scams are the crypto, investment, forex trading scams, anything to do with money. And many of you will say, well, these return on investments are not realistic. It's never going to happen. But we see that unfortunately in many developing countries, especially the ones with huge inflations, they fall for these kind of scams. They lack the financial knowledge to determine if something like this is a scam or not. However, in the West, we are also being scammed just as much. 2 years ago, there was a very popular series on Netflix called the Squid Game, and a scammer set up a website telling that he is developing the Squid Game, online game, and you could already buy crypto tokens for it. And within 5 days, he was able to convince people to pay in total 3.4 million US dollars before Netflix was able to take down the website. Of course, in some cases, scam victims could maybe have known. If you try to buy a verified PayPal account, a gun, a driver's license, or let somebody write you master thesis, then the scammer knows you will never go to the police and said, "Hey, I ordered my driver's license online and it was never delivered. I would like to file a complaint." Um, and also in other cases, and especially the gentleman in the room, you will be amazed how many people asked us, "Is this website legit? Can I really earn money this way?" And well, gentlemen, no, you cannot. Some scams are incredible. There was a Japanese lady who was romantically involved with a scammer, and the scammer was able to convince her that he's an astronaut and he needed 35,000 euro to get back to Earth and to come to her, which is, of course, a very sad story. Um, Maybe to convince you how vicious scammers can be, this video.
Okay. I meet the person on Facebook, and this person like offer me to investing money. That was on the beginning $15 uh, for 2 days for mining, and I done this. I said, okay, the $50 that it's not, you know, not a lot. Why you don't try? But on another day, I get them email from the company that I have to pay 20% from what I've got there. That was 120 uh, from all earnings, yeah, which one I had. And if I don't pay this, it's possibility that I lost everything. I paid this 120, and I wanted to withdraw on another day uh, straight away. When I press that I want to take withdraw, they send me a message that I have to pay another 300.
Yeah. To conclude, in the end, she lost all her life savings. She lives in the UK and she lost 1,400 pounds, all her life savings. Um, we often get the question, how big are online scams? And every year we do a survey amongst 50,000 consumers worldwide, and we ask them, what has happened in the last year? Were you approached by scammers? Did you fall for a scam? Did you lose money? What happened? One of the big challenges we as humankind have is that most of us are very convinced that we are able to recognize scams. Nearly 70% of our survey said, yes, I'm confident or very confident that I can recognize scams. But a few questions later in our survey, most of the people who are confident and very confident also admitted that they have actually been scammed in the last 12 months. We also see that the frequency with which people are being approached by scammers is increasing. It's often at least once a month, but often once per week or even several days per week that we receive a scam email, a fake advertisement on Facebook, etc. Excuse me. What surprised me a lot is, and I'm a digital guy, is I expected that most scams are done via digital means. That's actually not the case. Across the globe, phone and text messages are still the most common used medium by scammers to approach scam victims. Um, if you look at the digital aspect, then indeed we see Facebook, WhatsApp, Gmail at the top of the most common digital means, which is logical considering their market share. The type of scams people fall for across the board, across all the countries we investigated, are online shopping. online shopping scams are the most frequently, and I think that's really starting to hurt the e-commerce industry because as a result, the trust in the e-commerce industry is going down. Second are either investment scam or identity theft, depending on the country. In some countries, more people lose money via identity theft, in others via investment scams. Why are people being scammed? If you look at it negatively, greed. People saw an offer and went for it. That's the most common reason across the board. However, a very close second and third are I did not identify the deceit or I do not have the knowledge to recognize the scams. What's interesting is that in people with a higher income level, there's a fourth reason as well. Is I wasn't sure if it's a scam, but I choose to risk it. So we see people with a higher income taking more risks and actually are aware that it might be a scam. Another challenge we have is that people are using old methods to check if it's a scam. At the beginning of the century, we communicated to consumers that you always have to check if there's an SSL certificate on the website. Is the communication between the server and your own computer secure? Many people still believe that if you have an SSL certificate, you're reliable, which is absolutely not true. I mean, SSL certificates nowadays are free and every scammer has it. Same with reviews. My own government, I'm from the Netherlands, is spending millions on telling consumers, check reviews. But we know that 20 to 30% of all consumer reviews on consumer websites are nowadays fake. So it's no longer a good way to check if something is a scam. So we have to be very careful in educating consumers about simple tools to check if it's a scam. There are no longer simple tools, and we really need to invest more in making them more general aware of what's happening regarding scams. One of my biggest concern is that many people no longer report scams because they simply say it's not worth the effort. It doesn't make a difference. Other things which are limiting people to report scams is that it's becoming too complicated or they do not know where to report the scam. In many countries, reporting scams is not clear. Do I have to do it at my bank, at the online store or platform where I bought the product, the police, or should I go to the country where the scammer is coming from, or at least I think is coming from? Moral of the story is what we see happening is only a tip of the iceberg. We estimate that globally only 7% of all scams are actually reported to law enforcement. However, despite these very low figures in reporting, we see that scams are now in most countries either the number one type of crime reported to the police or the second biggest type of crime. In the United Kingdom, 41% of all crime reported to law enforcement is now related to fraud. And in Singapore, this figure is even 50%. And we see across the board that in all the countries, scams are becoming the most popular kind of crime. We also see that scammers are going professional. In Nigeria, there's a hot debate online on education. Many parents are saying to their children, don't go to school. Go to scam school because at least then you can earn money. And that has led to a fierce debate online within Nigeria. Is this where we want to go? Other developments regarding scams is that they become easily available. For 70 euros, I can buy a complete professionally looking investment site or banking site. There are many tools online which are nearly free, but allow you to scam people very, very easily. Likewise, we see the rise of scam compounds. Not only in Nigeria and Ghana, where the Nigerian prince scam is coming from, or the puppy scam from Ghana. We see a lot of scam compounds rising in Southeast Asia, where people are being lured to another country with an employment opportunity, a desk job, it's paid well. But once they arrive, their passport is taken from them, and they're actually being forced to scam people for 12 hours per day. And if you don't scam, you are beaten up. It's really a prison. Um, what is even more concerning is that law enforcement in these countries is trying to act against these scam compounds. The Philippine government, for example, was able to release 2,700 people from one scam compound alone in the Philippines. Unfortunately, they had to admit that they had to let these people go. They don't have a prison for 2,700 people. And many of the victims actually returned to the scam compound because they were not allowed to go back to their country. Many of them are Chinese, and China doesn't want criminals back. Um, and they started working again because, yeah, they needed money in the end. So another development is that scams are becoming unrecognizable. And I have to admit that this scammer is very smart. What he did is he used AI to merge a flower and the face of a kitten with each other, and you got these kitten flowers. They don't exist, but he was able to sell the seeds of these flowers online for 6 months because he said, well, it takes 6 months for these flowers to pop up. Um, and that gave him 6 months of time to scam a lot of people with seeds who had nothing to do with a non-existing flower. We also see more and more that AI is being used for deep fakes. Here you can see the two different examples where AI is being used to scam people. They think they're speaking to a nice elderly gentleman. Well, in the end, it's a very different person actually speaking to him. Moral of the story is scammers are winning. We see that scams are becoming a professional crime. In Israel, there are a few companies who focus on money recovery, convincing victims of investment scams that they can recover their money. Actually, they already have it. You only have to pay an administration fee or you have to pay taxes, and in the end, you never get your money. Same with Cyprus. There are two companies there which continuously create subscription scams. And very honestly, my own country, the Netherlands, has a very bad reputation for bulletproof hosting, meaning it's a very attractive country for scammers to set up websites because it takes a long time to get a website down. To summarize, we see that crime is now the most reported type of crime in many countries. However, globally, according to the World Economic Forum, only 0.05% of all cybercrime criminals are actually being prosecuted, which doesn't mean that they're actually being put behind bar, because of course they often do not show up for their trials. So how can we turn the tide? Most governments spend a lot of money on awareness, and I think that's a good thing. But recent research has proven that the more aware a consumer is about scams, the more confident he becomes. And the more confident he becomes, the more freely he starts to wander across the internet. So it seems that there's no relationship between the level of scam awareness and actually a decrease in victimization. We see that scams are a global problem and it needs to be solved globally with all the stakeholders involved. Governments, law enforcement, cybersecurity companies, the e-commerce sector. Everybody has a stake in this to help consumers not get scammed and to make sure that your own brand is not being misused by scammers. What we try to achieve with the Global Anti-Scam Alliance is bringing all the stakeholders together to share intelligence via our virtual meetups we have every 2 or 3 weeks. We have 8 very active email groups. We organize 3 summits every year, one in Asia, one in Europe, and one in America. And we do a lot of research. And we're more and more facilitating the exchange of data via our cybercrime exchange. That data is being used by antivirus companies to warn consumers about possible scams. They're getting a nice red pop-up. But also have developed more than 15 country websites where within a country, together with government, consumer protection, and the e-commerce sector, we have launched a local website in the local language allowing people to check if a website is legit or possibly a scam. And we're now live in 15 different countries. Finally, with the Cybercrime Exchange, we also try to change the behavior of the industry. In the Cybercrime Exchange, we not only put scams, but also phishing, malware, any kind of cybercrime. And as you can see on the slide, Denmark, the registry of the .dk name, is doing a great job. They are managing nearly 1.4 million websites, but only 0.03% of those 1.4 million websites are abusive, bad in one way or another. Well, there's room for improvement with the .cn and .shop domain name. As you can see, their abuse rates are way higher, and they're actually also managing more domains. So this is what we're trying to achieve with the Cybercrime Exchange, to make more visible which registries, hosting companies, registrars are doing a great job, and which ones need help to improve. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Please feel free to use our data to protect your users. Happy to work together with you. Also, please share your phishing links and scam sites you identify with us. You can just send us an email to report@scamadviser.com, but you can also use our API. And finally, I would like to invite you to join our knowledge network to share modus operandi on scammers and fight scammers together and define better solutions. And with that, I would like to thank you. Again, my apologies that I cannot attend physically, but feel free to reach out. Happy to work together with you, and I wish you a very pleasant day. Thank you very much.